Hi. As I've done lots of little videos, I realised that there are quite a few little tips that I've not told you or that I've maybe brushed over. And so I want to share with you some top tips of things that we've found on a cruise have really helped us. Things that are not big enough to make a whole video about, but can give you lots of helpful things for your travels. One of the things for me, I'm a technophile. I love technology. I've got my iPhone, my iPad, my laptop, my AirPods. I have other headsets that I fall asleep with that are like bone conduction things. So I have a lot of things to plug in. And you'll find that there is a dearth of sockets in your cabin. But also for me, they're too far away. I'm at this end of the bed and the sockets are at that end of the bed, usually on the dressing table. So one of the things we always bring is a 4-point extension cable, long enough to go from the socket in the wall to the side of my bed, so I can plug things in. I also have with me, I don't take loads of plugs with me, loads of things to USB plugs. I take a USB bar. So again, I have a couple of USB bars that hold between 4 and 6 USB cables. So it means that I can plug everything in, 4 in one, 6 in the other, or whatever it is. And I've still got a couple of sockets for my husband to plug his stuff in, which I do sometimes let him. But I found that very helpful. So having an extension cable with you is a really, really, really good idea. Also, remember, you need to have a conversion plug because they don't have UK sockets on most ships. It's either European or it's American. And with the European sockets, quite often they're quite deep, so you need to make sure that that they go in and still leave you space to be able to plug your English plug in. Sometimes with American conversion plugs, that can be an issue, but you will definitely be okay if you get a European plug, European conversion, and plug your extension into it and plug all your other things into that extension cable. That will be very, very useful for you. Another thing that I was thinking about recently is prescriptions. My husband has his prescriptions online, so if for some reason he loses medication or runs out of medication, or God forbid something happens and we can't get home when we were supposed to and he runs out of medication, he has his medication he can access online. If that's you, then that's great. But if not, then bring a copy of your prescription with you so that if you do need to buy any medication, top up your medication while you're abroad, you can actually get it done by taking your prescription to a chemist. It's just one of those things which is quite useful. On ship, medication is expensive. In fact, anything like from a medicine cabinet is expensive. So another thing I would suggest taking, and you can buy one, you can buy a ready-made kit, or you can put together your own little medical kit. And that's what we did. We've got a little medical kit that's got in it painkillers, you know, I sometimes suffer from sinus, so I might take some sinus medication, some antiseptic cream in case you get a cut or a scratch, maybe some insect repellent if you're going somewhere where mosquitoes or insects could be a problem. Elastoplast. It's great just to have an elastoplast so that you can apply it if necessary, especially if you've got kids. Another good thing to have is hand sanitizer. I've usually got a little bottle of a hand sanitizer in my handbag anyway, but it's good to have it with you on ship. On ship, of course, to prevent any illnesses, you do need to be washing your hands frequently and washing them thoroughly, not just running your fingertips under the water, but getting soap and washing them very thoroughly, especially in light of you know, some of the viruses that are going around. And on ship, you do not want to let a virus on ship if you can help it, because you don't want to spend your holiday in your cabin. Hand sanitizers are available at every restaurant. They're available when you come on board ship, when you go off ship, available as you go in the casino, as you come out the casino. They're all over the ship, so make use of them. I'm amazed at how many people I see walk past a hand sanitizer going on the way to the dining room, and yet they're there. But they also quite often have staff that are actually giving you sanitizer as you walk past them. So if you don't collect it, they'll give it to you. But these are things which it's useful to have your hand sanitizer with you if you go off ship especially, and you can't always wash your hands conveniently. You can at least sanitize your hands when you're out and about, especially with children. So that's another thing to keep in your first aid kit. Another thing worth putting in your first aid kit is Imodium. I've never had any problems myself, but some people do get a little bit of tummy bug, and it might be something they've eaten, whether on ship or off ship, and they just need to take something to help. You can buy it on the ship, but it will cost you 3 times as much as getting it in the chemist before you go. Better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Another thing that we always take with us is a tooth repair kit. There's nothing worse than toothache. And if you broke a tooth or you lose a filling or something like that, on ship there are no dentists. There's doctors, but not a dentist. So having a tooth repair kit will help you to just make that repair until you get back and you can go to your dentist. So those are things which I consider to be quite a necessity to have with you. Doesn't take up a lot of space, but it's just there if you need it. Any other medication that you think you might need, with children, it might be that you've got something for coughs, although these days I think they just tell them to drink plenty of water. But anything that you might need, if you have allergies, maybe allergy medication, stuff like that. We don't get allergies, so we don't bother about it. But if you do, then you need to do that too. So those are, lip balm as well, having a lip balm. So those are things to take in your medicine cabinet. Another good tip is sign up for all the newsletters from all the cruises, all the cruise ships, because they will send you deals. Now, even when you get a deal in an email, you don't need to go for it straight away, because quite often, if you go back to your travel agent, they will do the same deal and give you deals off, so it's worth looking at that. But that's how you find out about things that are going on first, by being on their mailing list, so they send you emails all the time. You don't have to take them, you don't have to answer them, but it's a good tip to find out what's going on with the cruise lines that you might be interested in sailing with. If you do get seasick, it might be worth taking seasick medication in your medical kit too. We don't suffer from seasickness, but if you get a bit motion sick, then it's worth going for a cabin which is midships and lower down, because that's more stable. You don't get such, so it's not so rocky if you are in a little bit of rough sea. Midships and lower down is better. I actually don't worry at all. I don't get motion sick, so thank God for me it's not a big issue. But I know for some people it is, and so that's the way to mitigate that, is to ask for, and you can ask for a cabin, ask your TA to book you a cabin low down in the middle, if that's what your preference is. Another thing is, when you're booking your cabin, you can get just a guaranteed cabin, which is sometimes cheaper, and it's actually, you sometimes get an upgrade from that. But with a guaranteed cabin, you don't get to choose where your cabin is. But if you choose your cabin, ask your travel agent, and you do need to get a good travel agent, ask your travel agent to find you a cabin that has a cabin above, below, and to either side of you. That way, you're not going to get disturbed. If you are right underneath something, so like right underneath the buffet, for example, it might be a little bit noisy for you at different times of the day. We've never had an issue, to be honest, but then, we just sleep So another tip is, if you get an inside cabin, you might want to take a little nightlight along with you, because inside cabins are dark. We tend to just leave the bathroom light on and leave the door open a little crack, but because I've never thought of taking a nightlight actually, but we use them for my grandchildren. We have night lights here for the grandchildren, and it would be quite a good idea to have a nightlight so you can find your way to the loo in the middle of the night, because in an inside cabin it is pitch black because you've got no window to get any light in. So that's another little tip for you: take a nightlight. Another thing which is quite important is to set your watch or your clock to ship time. Recognise that your phone, if it's on automatic, will go to the port time, which is not always the same as the ship time. And sometimes if you've got a signal at night, for example, your phone will automatically update to the time where it got the last signal, and then in the morning when you've changed your watch or the ship has announced a change, your phone hasn't changed because you've now no longer got a signal. So don't rely on your phone for the correct time. And this is really important, to have the correct time on your watch, because if you get off ship, the boarding time will be in ship time, not local time. And sometimes, not very often, but sometimes the ship time is not the same as local time. If you're going over a few time zones, it may choose to stagger the time change for you over several days, but you might be in a port where it's 12 o'clock, but on the ship it's 1 o'clock. You do not want to miss the ship because you did not have the correct time. So that's really important. Make sure that you have the right time when you go off ship. Ship's time, not port time. Okay, that's really important. You do not want to be waving your ship goodbye from the side of the deck. In your cabin, there'll be a safe. Now, you know, they're not the best safes, but they're better than nothing. And they're usually easily programmable. You just put your 4-digit code in and you can keep your stuff in there. It's always worth doing that, keeping your passport, credit cards and so on, and any money in the safe. Anything important, keep in the safe. Usually you don't have problem with the staff on board ship. I have to say, let's face it, it's more than their job's worth to take something out of your cabin. They're usually really honest, and you'll find them, you know, if they pick a coin up off the floor, they'll put it up on your dressing table. They are very honest, but you don't want to, you know, you don't want to chance anything. If the safe's there, use it. The mini bar, you've got a mini bar, it's usually jam-packed full, and of course when you leave, they'll go through and see what you've had and it'll be charged to your bill. However, if you want to use the mini bar as a fridge, then take all the stuff out the mini bar, store it, and then when you leave, put it all back in again so you won't get charged for it. You might want to tell your steward that that's what you're doing, because he might come in and check it, find there's nothing in there, and it goes on your bill. But that's a good idea, to get the use of a small fridge in your cabin. We don't normally bother. We might shift a few things about to put stuff in there, but usually we squash what we want in there. But it's a really good idea that if you do want to use, put more stuff in your fridge, just empty it out. Once it goes back in again, they're not going to charge you. But just remember, do not drink it, because unless you're on the Premium Plus package on MSC, you will pay for everything out of the minibar and the water in your room. So just remember that. Don't be tempted, okay? And finally, the last tip for you is, if you're not used to going abroad and you are taking a debit card with you and you want to draw money in another country, just make sure your bank knows before you go, because it's really embarrassing when you go to pay with your debit card and it's declined. And it's declined because your bank didn't know you were going. So always, if you're going to a country you've not been to before, or you've not travelled outside UK before, always call your bank a few days days before you leave, a week or so before you leave, tell them you'll be going. Had this happened to me once. I was on an American cruise ship, and I phoned my bank and told them that I was going to be in Rome, and I was going to, or Italy, I was going to be in Pisa, and I was going to be in Palma de Mallorca and a couple of other places. Gave them all these places, and then my card was rejected by the ship. And I'm like, there's plenty of money in there. But I called my bank and they said, but you're in America. You didn't tell us you were going to America. And of course, I wasn't in America. I was on an American cruise line. So they charged in dollars through an American bank, obviously. So my bank thought somebody had took my card and they were spending my money in America, which is quite nice to know that the bank is looking after my money, but it was quite embarrassing. So wherever you go, make sure your ship knows, or your bank knows where you're going before you go, so that they will authorize your payment when you go to either pay or take money out of your account. So just a few tips for you, just a kind of a bonus video, if you like, just to update you on what's available or ways in which you can help yourself on a cruise. So I hope this has been helpful to you. If it has, do hit the subscribe button, give me the thumbs up for like, hit the notification bell. I'm Jan Obridge, I'm the Cruise Queen. Have a great week. Bye-bye.